friends, and welcome back to our homestead. Today I've decided to come outside to harvest some of this beautiful goldenrod, and it's growing all over my yard. And you've heard me say this before, God knows what to send to us when we need it. So I like to come outside and harvest and prepare some of my homemade remedies ahead of the curve, before the flu season even arrives, because there's nothing worse is to be sick and not to have anything in hand. So I suggest going outside, finding a clean ecological place, far away from the roads, not on the road, even though you see them growing on the side of the road. That is not a good place to harvest. But go somewhere off where you know nobody's spraying anything and they're growing wild, and harvest some to make homemade remedies. So let me collect a bunch. I'm going to go to my porch and I will share what I'm going to be doing with my goldenrod. Isn't this beautiful? Okay, let's see what the herbal books say about the goldenrod. And there's quite a lot of folk history about the use of this herb. It's pretty exciting. But unfortunately, there's really not that much of scientific research being done on goldenrod, and that is unfortunate. So I just wanted to touch base on few of the medicinal actions and uses that have been used, goldenrod's been used for. So it's been used as an antioxidant, diuretic, astringent. It is often used for UTIs, which is the urinary tract infections and other disorders and inflammations. It's often used to, like I said, for inflammations, like to treat cystitis, bladder cystitis. So the herb also has a reputation to help people with kidney stones. And what else? Oh, because it has saponins acting ingredient in it, it's often used for candida fungus and for vaginal infections and oral thrush. So it's been used for candida. So it's been used like as a mouthwash for thrush, or it's been used as tea. You can drink it as tea. So goldenrod is often blamed for allergy flare-ups for people in early autumn. But at the same time, it is used to address seasonal allergies. And often goldenrod is used in recipes for allergy tinctures or remedies, alongside with stinging nettle, with thyme, and goldenrod is also used. So it's kind of interesting. So I've been reading some of this from the Encyclopedia Herbal Medicine by Andrew Chevalier. So I really like this book. I use this a lot. And also I've been reading this book as well, and it's Grow Your Own Herbal Remedies by Maria Noel Groves. I like her a lot as well. And she talks about how goldenrod can be used for upper respiratory infections because it helps to remove that mucus, and because it's been used for hay fever, sinus complaints, congestion, sinusitis, and it helps with asthma as well. So I know that the flu season and the cold season is right around the corner, so I want to be prepared. So today I'm going to be drying it for tea, so I can make tea infusions. Okay, and for tea infusion, it is best to use those that are almost not open yet. There's still buds that are not open yet, because if I try to dry these ones that are fully open, they're going to turn into puff, just like dandelions, very, very quickly. So I'm going to be choosing ones that are still in buds, that still have not fully opened. I'm going to use them. I'm going to cut them up, and I'm going to put it in my dehydrator on the dehydrating trays, and I'm going to dehydrate them on a low setting for herbs. That's what I'm going to be doing. And then throughout the winter months, I'm going to be using them in infusions. And an infusion means that you take a good pinch, probably like a tablespoon or so, of dried herb. You put it in the boiling water and you let it sit there covered for about 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then you drink it. So infusion can be used for respiratory or for cystitis, for the bladder issues. at least 1 to 3 times a day, okay? But also I'm gonna be making a tincture today as well. So let me start working on my tincture. I'm gonna be needing a glass vessel, and I'm just recycling my old honey jar with the plastic cover. If there is no plastic cover and you have to use a metal cover, I like to put a piece of parchment paper first, and that way it's not in contact with alcohol. All right, so also I'm going to be using scissors, and these are cool scissors that cut in 4s right away. So you can use a knife, you can chop it up with any kind of device or scissors or anything, because I'm trying to expose more surface area. Okay, so I am using aerial parts meaning the top part of the plant where the most of the flowers are. Okay, and I like to go to very clean places to harvest my herbs, and in my case it's usually my backyard. And I'm just cutting them up. Okay, I'm just cutting them up so they're in small chunks, just like this. Okay, and I'm going to be filling up my jar. The aroma is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So what I did was, these are fresh, okay? You can use dry, but when you use dry goldenrod for tincture, the measurements are very different. Usually you have to work by weight, and usually it is 1 to 5, okay? 1 to 5. But in my case, I'm gonna do pretty much 1 to 1. And I'll show you what that means, because I am using a folk style of medicine making. Okay, you don't want to cut through the stem for some reason. All right, so I'm using a folk method, meaning that I am not really measuring. I'm gonna put them in the jar just like this. After I harvest any herb, I like to let it sit for an hour or 2 or so, and just allow, if there's any bug in here, it gives it a chance for the bug to run away, because I don't want it in my tincture. Okay, so I prefer to make my medicines, my home remedies, in the tincture methods. Why? Because there's really no shelf life for tincture. Okay, where if you dry them, the dried herbs will last you a year, maybe 2, and then at that point it loses its benefits. Okay, these scissors are really not helping me today. I don't know why. Maybe they're not sharp anymore. Maybe I should get a different knife. All right, I got different scissors. All right, this is going to be a little slower, but it's working much easier. All right, so I'm really not using that much of the stems and the leaves. I'm mainly focusing on the parts where the flowers are growing. Okay, so I'm going to be using 1 to 1 ratio pretty much when I'm going to fill up the jar almost all the way to the top. And I'm going to be taking 100 proof vodka. And in my case, 100 proof vodka right here, meaning that it has 50% water and 50% alcohol. And that's what I like to do when I'm using with fresh plant material. You know, I often get texts and phone calls from my friends when they say, oh my goodness, I'm not feeling well, or my family member is sick. What should I do? What should I give them? And you know, it breaks my heart to say, you need to be prepared. You need to have it on hand ahead of time. So you're not searching for a home remedy last minute, okay? But you need to have this on hand. So right now is a perfect time, at least here in New England, perfect time to go and find some goldenrod to make home remedies out of it. So like I said, it can be used when someone has sinus infection and congestion, or allergy response when they full of phlegm. It helps to move some of that phlegm out. Okay, it's like a mucolytic. Or it can be used for allergy tincture. Okay, and as I mentioned before, what I read was that you can use it when there is a bladder infection or inflammation or that sort of thing. Or even for candida, right? When you have a mouth thrush or vaginal infection, yeast infection. All right, so let me just chop this up a little bit more, and I will want to fill up that jar almost to the top. Okay, I am almost at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push it down a little gently, okay, and see how now I have more space. And I'm going to add a little bit more. This is going to be the last of it probably. So, quick question you may have, and I'm sure it, all right, so this is going to be the last of it probably. All right, so what if someone does not have a dehydrator? Is it possible to dehydrate herbs without a dehydrator? And the answer is yes, absolutely. You may dehydrate in a well-ventilated, cool place, preferably away from the sun, okay? Because the sun, unfortunately, is not a friend, because it's going to break down the plant very fast. It's the job of the sun is to kind of heat too much and break down the plant material, and we don't want that. All right, I think it's almost to the top. Yep. All right, a little bit more, a little bit more. So it's possible just to make bunches just like this. You tie them and you hang them upside down, and they should be hung upside down somewhere where it's a good ventilation away from the sun. But we live here in New England, and it rains a lot here, and there's a lot of moisture here. So there's a chance that it may go moldy, okay? So if that's the case, you could try to dehydrate it somewhere where you know it's not going to be moldy. So some people literally put them in a place where there's a dehydrator standing right next to it to pull the moisture. Or you may cut them up, just like what I'm doing right now. Put it on the baking sheet, okay? Put it in the oven on the lowest setting. Keep the door of the oven ajar so it's not shut, and dehydrate it very slowly, okay, without cooking it. That's another way. All right, so my goldenrod, beautiful, it's all in the jar, and now I'm gonna top it off everything with vodka, and hopefully I have enough. If I don't have enough, I have to go back in a house for more. Now, this process of extraction of this medicine is going to take place in a cool, dark place, all the way to the top. So I'm going to take a little skewer and just poke holes, because I want to make sure that there's alcohol everywhere in between, okay? So I'm going to put this in the closet, away from the sunlight. You know, sometimes I see videos and people will be like, oh yeah, I put this on my windowsill and the sun helps. No, it needs to be in a dark place. It needs to be in the dark place, not in the sun. The sun is not a good thing for the tincture. All right, so all in here. Where's my cover? All right, cover is on. All right, so it's gonna go in the closet in a dark place, and every day for the first week or so, I'm gonna do this just once a day, okay? So everything is topped off, all right? And then after that, it's gonna sit in my closet for 6 to 8 weeks and do its thing. Once a week, I will turn it upside down to make sure everything is mixed, but that's it. But then after 6 to 8 weeks, I will strain it. I will put it through a cheesecloth, and I will actually squeeze the cheesecloth so all the good ingredients are out of it. And then it will be stored in a amber dark bottle with a dropper, because this is used in drops, okay, in drops. It is very important to label and to say what's in here, what it's mixed with, and the date it was made. okay? Because pretty soon this bottle is going to turn amber color, darker color, and you're not going to remember what's in it. So putting a label is very, very important. Don't let yourself forget what it is, okay? So yeah, so that's what we're going to be using. How much? And some people ask me, so how much should I use of this tincture when I need to use it medicinally? I always shy away from giving the dosage because it's almost like a medicine. So I say do your own research, because it's always best to start with a lower amount and increase it to your benefit. When I use it, I use about 1 ml, which is about a 1 dropper full. And you can use it 4 or 5 times a day, and that's what I do for myself and for my family. Then of course that amount can be increased to a little bit more. So like for example, this author right here, she talks about how much to use. Oh, and she says, hold on a second, I'm gonna read it to you guys. She says you can use 1 to 5 mLs 1 to 3 times daily. Okay, so that's how she recommends it. All right, so this is how I am making my goldenrod tincture. So the most scientific way of making it is that it needs to be done by weight. And by weight, if you're using a fresh plant material, by weight it should be 1 to 2. Okay, the rest of it I'm going to cut up and put it on my dehydrating trays to dry up and to be used in tea. All right, friends, I hope you are encouraged to prepare for the cold season that's coming up and make some homemade remedies. So be encouraged and try something new.